Happy Friday, Warriors. Love seeing the responses this week from the Daily Motivations. There was a few, hey, is this directed at me specifically? Did you only write this to me? Which those are the ones that we really need to pay attention to because I never single anybody out on these email blasts, but it feels like it sometimes. The first one was part of an all-day meeting. We were meeting with several different folks, and right in the middle of this conversation, this lady said, forgiving others is one of my superpowers because I've been so forgiven. And I know there were several people around the table that like they took a deep breath when they heard that, and she just kept going on what she was saying. But like that was a moment for me to stop down and write that because that was one where I was like, "Hey God, are you aiming that directly at me?" And so in my reflection of that sentence, because it's not a superpower for me, is there's two sides to that coin. You know, your personal forgiveness and then the ability to forgive others. And so you might struggle with neither of those, one of those, both of those. And for sure, I've struggled at some point with both of those. Personal forgiveness, I've done a lot of bad things. I've done a lot of things I regret. And I'll continue to do things that I regret. And thankfully, I have a God that loves me. I have a faith where it's not by my acts, but by Jesus' sacrifice and His grace for me, and where I can find that forgiveness and really cast those burdens and be free from those things. And then the other side of the coin is forgiving others, and that's still a weakness in my journey where I just get angry and I feel betrayed sometimes when it comes to the personal values that I hold dear. And where I'm missing the mark on that is comparing somebody else's shortfalls at a higher benchmark than mine. Like I want forgiveness for myself for the things I've done, but it's like almost like I'm trying to make somebody reach higher for theirs, which really isn't fair based on the forgiveness I've been given. So that's really something that after that statement was said that I'm wrestling with, and I hope whether it's forgiveness for yourself or for others that you begin to wrestle with after hearing this. And the next thing with forgiveness and our trials and testimonies and this whole mountain moving crusade was that your story could be the key that unlocks somebody else's prison. Don't be afraid to share it. And this was one that really got a lot of replies this week, because when we don't share, that darkness stays in the darkness and sometimes can build and grow. And that's where you start making those repeat offenses that you continue to go to the altar or to your family to ask for forgiveness, and becomes like this broken record. But there is a lot of power in your testimony. First off, for you start sharing it and you get that darkness into light, whatever's this thing that you're really scared to share. It starts freeing you up. It starts getting these weights off your shoulders. You become a little more confident, relaxed, and at peace. But it doesn't stop there. You know, one of my biggest fears with my testimony is that with the mountains that have moved in my life, thank goodness to a good network and God and faith surrounding me, so I didn't move them myself. But being able to move those wasn't just for me, and I know that calling. And when I meet God, I don't want Him to say like, "Man, I didn't move those mountains just for you. I did it for your brothers and sisters to advance the kingdom." And I always have that check in my head to make sure that I'm continuing to lean in, to share my testimony, to help people. If my story can help others, then I want to get it out there. But that's a hard line to cross, and it takes a lot of courage, vulnerability, and action and repetition. And I promise you it gets easier as you go. And to finish things up on a lighter note, we've had some hard days at the office, but despite that, we have so much fun. And it's fun beyond what I could have ever imagined for this team, because the team's gelling so well and we're super weird. We have just this great bond regardless of your background, department, And it made me dig up this quote that fun is not a distraction from productivity, it's a pathway to it. Kind of like profit and people. One can be the byproduct of other. Fun and productivity can feed each other. Because in this business and construction, if you aren't having fun, like your day-to-day grind can be pretty miserable. But you interject some fun and some bonding with the team in that it kind of changes the circumstances a little bit and changes your outlook. And despite a really bad day, you might be pretty darn happy. So I'm thankful for a team that cares about each other and has a lot of fun together because I think it really matters. Finish strong, and we will see you next week.